Hi everyone. Welcome to Module 3 in our UF 300 class. We are now beginning our reading of the main text assigned for this course, Tomatoland by Barry Estabrook. And I wanted to take just a few minutes to make a transition between our last module on ethics and this module on Tomatoland, and help to identify some of the links between these two sections, give you some ideas about some possible frameworks for reading through Tomatoland, and then also to talk finally about where we are headed with this project later on as the semester progresses. So first of all, as we wrap up Module 2 on ethics, I want to say thank you for all of your excellent discussions on Sally's dilemma. I thought a number of students raised some really great points and were able to integrate their ideas and to analyze their positions using the framework for thinking ethically and the right versus right article. And in terms of some feedback on what made some of those discussion posts really effective, I thought it was great when students were able to respond to one another and to engage in dialogue, and many students really exemplified how we can have those discussions and have disagreements but still do so in a respectful way. So I was really excited about the level of discussion on that. I am reading through your personal code of ethics now, and I will send you feedback on those as I work through them this week. So today marks the beginning of the third module on Tomatoland, and I wanted to make some connections. So we've been reading these different frameworks for thinking ethically, and in this module, as you're reading through Tomatoland, I want to talk about some different ways that you can apply those frameworks to your reading. The book Tomatoland raises a number of issues, a number of ethical dilemmas. And so I'm going to talk about three big ethical dilemmas that the book raises. You will find others, and each of you will have certain parts of the book that speak to you more than others. But the three sort of broad framework of ethical dilemmas that I see in this book that we can focus on. The first is the ethics of consumption. So this book tells us what happens when you purchase a tomato in Boise, Idaho, or wherever you might live in the winter, where that tomato came from, and what was the environmental cost, what was the social cost, what was the real economic cost of the purchase of that tomato. And so it raises issues on the ethics of consumption. While this book talks about tomatoes, you'll watch a documentary that looks at oranges, and really we could apply this sort of, the type of analysis that Estabrook offers in this book about tomatoes, we could apply to virtually any product, any type of food, or any device that we buy, or anything that is a part of our normal everyday consumption. We can do these tracing the chain of their production and distribution. So the first thing this book raises are the ethics of consumption, and do we have obligations as consumers to learn about where our food comes from, and to possibly change some of our consumption choices. The second big ethical dilemma that this book presents is the ethics of our food production system, and specifically looking at industrial agriculture. Now, some of you may have read other books or taken other classes that examine some of these issues. This is a big, complex problem. But when we look at our industrial agricultural system, and tomato production is a good way to look at that, it brings up the issue of undocumented farm laborers. We know that in the United States, about 3/4 of American farm workers are foreign-born, come from other countries, and of those, about half are undocumented. So that's a very large percentage of our farm worker population is here as an undocumented citizen. And so this raises all sorts of questions about immigration policy, about economic policy, about taxes, about health care, and there's a huge social and economic system that's been developed around our industrial agricultural system. So that would be the second ethical dilemma, thinking about our food production system, and is it ethical in terms of the people that we employ and the lifestyle that they are working in. The third big ethical framework that I think this book raises for all of us has to do with the ethics of action. So if we become aware of a topic, let's say something like tomatoes, that maybe there are some problems in the way that they're produced, and maybe for some of you, your main issue will be with the environmental side, about the production of pesticides or the use of pesticides, and for some of you it may be for the farm workers and the allegations of human trafficking. For some of you it may be about just general social or environmental issues. Whatever they are, if you read something in this book and you feel like there's a problem, what are the ethics of becoming involved? So do we have an ethical obligation? And this question is really, really important for UF 300 classes as we're talking about personal responsibility. So as educated members of society with the privilege of attending college and having access to information, having access to libraries, having access to the internet, having access to professors and classmates and colleagues who can share a wealth of information on some of these topics, is there some ethical obligation to become involved, whether that's through changing consumption habits, or whether that's through joining a social movement, or becoming a part of something larger than yourself? So what happens when you find out about a problem? Do you have an ethical obligation to do something? So those are three really broad ways that we could think about this book, and as I said, you guys will have other ways that you can think about it too. When we post our first discussion board on Tomatoland, you'll have a chance to raise topics and to share what you think are the most important issues raised in this book. And then next, in the next module after this, we will begin our research projects. So after you read Tomatoland and you watch the recommended documentaries and read through some other articles and do other Google searches, you will have a chance to develop your own research project, and you'll do this in groups. It will be collaborative, and you'll have a chance to say whatever you think is the most important message or point in this book, or whatever you think is the most challenging ethical dilemma. You will conduct research with your classmates, and you will teach the rest of us about it. And so all of these three modules on our ethical decision making in the previous module, in this book, Tomatoland, and in the next couple of modules on research and presentation of your topic, they're all connected. And hopefully that flow will make sense as we continue on. The last thing I wanted to say is that for many students, this book has a powerful impact on them. It has for me in my own life, and the way that I've designed this module is you have a couple of weeks to just read and digest and think about things, which I think is great, because I think sometimes it's okay to sit with something for a while and take some time. The risk of that is that I don't want you to feel like you're reading something and you're sort of thrown out there alone in the world, and so you are welcome to send me questions or comments, and I'll open that discussion board early so that students can start posting and discussing, and I hope that you will engage in long conversations with each other, and not just post one thing. I really want you to read what other people are saying and respond and talk and share that. If anybody wants to, I'm happy to set up some Google Hangouts, or I live here in Boise. For students who are in Boise, come by my office and we can talk about some of these issues. So I am here, the class is here, and as you start reading, we'll have a chance to share our thoughts on this. Check in with me at any point if you have any questions, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on Tomatoland. Thank you.